Please welcome back to the stage from the FinOps Foundation, J.R. Storment.
Hey folks, good morning. Is everybody awake? Yes, all the coffees. There's more coffee out there if you need it. Did everybody have a good time last night on the party? Nice. Oh, yes. That's so great. Did you see the moonrise on the ship coming up over? That was so pretty. Did you get to dance? Hopefully, some dancing? Yeah, good. Well, welcome back. Day 2, you made it. Today is a very different day than yesterday for us. We're going to be leading up to something we've never had before, which is cloud service provider updates and announcements live on stage. Before that, we're going to welcome a really interesting fireside chat with American Express, who just got here, which is amazing, and have a great talk on build, buy, native, all those complicated, touchy subjects by Mike Fuller, our CTO. So last night, I had a great time on the party. Hope you did. Hope you got to maybe some other events as well. Did you know that there was a proposal that happened on the party? Did you see that? Yeah, it was amazing. One of the practitioners, Jimin who I hope is here, proposed to her partner in front of Tom Cruise on the boat, and he said yes. It was an amazing moment. So yeah, big round of applause for them, huh? Most important thing that happened here. One of my other favorite moments was every time I turned around, I felt like I would run into this roving gang of focus maintainers. There was like 10 or 12 of them that were in a pack, and they were just growing and walking around and bringing people into their orbit. It was pretty cool. So I was asking a lot of folks about some of their takeaways from last night, and heard great stuff about the Disney talk and the Uber talk. Some of the comments about the invoice bots scared people, apparently, that they didn't have those and what they might be missing. One of the themes that somebody mentioned I thought was really great, one of the last ones of the night, was that how important predictability was and how much that was coming up over optimization or allocation into these things. And my favorite one came from, oh, he's back in the front row. There he is. I have a direct quote from you last night. No matter what badge we're wearing, we're all on the same team here, which I thought was a really, really nice note. So we also heard there were too many tracks yesterday. So much great content. People are struggling to figure out what to go to, forecasting anomalies, all these areas. So we'll talk more about those later. But I wanted to open the day with something a little more mellow than we had yesterday and have a nice sit-down chat with two leaders from American Express who represent two sides of the FinOps coin, both the technical side and the finance side. So please welcome to the stage Noreen and Keena from American Express. Welcome. Have a seat. How's it going? So Noreen gave us a little fire drill and gave me a little heart attack this morning because she had a very important day yesterday and didn't fly in until 11 p.m. last night. Yes. And so this morning I was like, is she here? Okay, she's here. So did you get some rest?
I did, a little rest. I'm really bummed that I missed Maverick and Goose on the, on the big ship, so definitely mad that I missed that one. But
and you had a big day yesterday. Can you tell us what was happening yesterday?
I did. So I'm the CFO for Enterprise Services at American Express, which includes our technology organization. And we had a multi-year long-range plan meeting with our senior executives, including our CEO. And although I've done these meetings many times over my career, this is probably the time we spent the most amount of discussion around our cloud adoption, where we are in our progress, and the startup of our FinOps practice, and how important that is going to be for our success in this space. So it was really relevant, and I was excited to share that I was coming here to this conference with Keena. So I think that, to me, although we've been investing in this space for a long time, it was very relevant for our most senior leaders at the company.
Cloud costs were a concern.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So Keena, you were here yesterday. What was your kind of top takeaway from the conference?
Oh my gosh, so lots. Focus though, 1.0 being GA. So one of our engineers actually emailed me about a month ago, the spec sheet from 2023, and he was like, wouldn't this be great? And I'm like, yeah, of course, if it's real. And it's real, and so that's really super important. And then just crawl, walk, run, and shifting capabilities, within phases is really important, because I thought, we're so early, we're not runners, but they're no runners, right? Yes. So that was really insightful, and it resonated with us.
It's so funny you mentioned that focus comment about is it real. I had somebody come up to me last night and say, I didn't really think focus was a thing till I saw the keynotes yesterday, and oh, wow, okay, so that's great to hear. So, Keena, let's start with you. I mean, tell me a little bit about your journey personally and professionally into this space and your role, because you've got an interesting background.
Yeah, so I kind of have a story. My introduction into infrastructure, my career started in a finance capability. So I was an accounting apprentice in what we call the communications department for a securities firm, which was at the time, in the roaring 90s, one of the largest members of the New York Stock Exchange. And back then, the externally hosted services that were critical to the business were real-time market data quotes, research, and news. And so my job, along with the senior accounting analyst, was to right-size entitlements packages, right, for our foreign exchange traders, our equity traders, fixed income traders, so they would have the capabilities to do what they did best, which is make money for the firm. And so I was very curious about the serial numbers and the SKUs and the entitlements codes, and my curiosity was rewarded with architecture diagrams and participation in deployments and troubleshooting, and I became an engineer myself over time, but with a cost awareness that prepared me for the next 30 years of roles in delivery and production support and infrastructure, which leads me full circle. I run our platform economics capability for our global infrastructure organization in American Express, of which FinOps is a key pillar. So full circle, here I am, doing FinOps again, 30 years later.
Do all the parts of FinOps.
All the parts of FinOps.
And Noreen, can you tell us a little bit about your role and how FinOps work and cloud that you mentioned intersects with the larger role?
Yeah, of course. So I'm probably newer to this space than Keena is, for sure. But I've been supporting our technology organization for a few years. And my role is larger. I look across all of technology and ensure that we are making the right investments as a company, both from an infrastructure, cloud, on-prem, any kind of infrastructure costs related to technology, ensuring that our senior leaders have the right transparency and understand where we're seeing pressure within our cost base. And then also we look at our investment side or development side and ensure that we're making the best investments there as well with the best ROIs for the company. So, I think that as we've gotten involved with Keena and the team over the last few years and starting up this practice, a lot of my team members are here in the audience today too. I think this is a very important part of what we are doing, and the go forward of our work is how this practice can really help, not only from a cost savings perspective or looking at anomalies, but also how does this drive growth for the company? Because I think that, to me, that was an interesting perspective that our senior leaders had yesterday, was that they really see this as a way to grow our company as well.
When you say CS as a way, which part of that practice are they seeing as a way to grow it?
I think, seeing it in new products and driving, resiliency, quicker to market on some of our products. So I think that there's a lot of excitement as to this could be growth versus just, another way of.
That was the big joke yesterday, is like, is FinOps about cost savings? No, it's about driving outcomes and growth in all those areas. So that's perfect. So where is American Express in the FinOps journey now?
Yeah, I think we're early. I mean, we've been doing public cloud financial management for years, but our senior leadership, to Noreen's point, has really formalized and prioritized an investment in this practice area. And our objectives are aligned with key outcomes for our tech strategy around powering growth, as you mentioned, and enhancing efficiency and productivity in all we do. So our informed stage was around, enhanced transparency, and our business partners quickly saw the value, and we got propelled into the optimize phase, right? So I think we're in a brisk walk in optimize, a brisk walk, right?
Phase.
Yeah, because exactly, because here, so we can identify anomalies and trajectories that may or may not be what we expect. we can intervene very quickly, and we can present our workload owners with optimization opportunities. And now they're coming to us with proactive optimization opportunities. So I think that's really exciting. And I think my team's going to fact check me, but I feel like we are in the crawl stage of the operate capabilities based on, yes, I'm a disciple. So crawl stage of operate.
Okay, excellent.
And I think, you know, Gen AI and our investment in Gen AI use cases across the company has definitely accelerated where we stand right now within utilizing the FinOps program. I also think that we have made some small kind of cloud native acquisitions over the last few years that has also accelerated our usage in this space. And what's really made it real for me over the last few months, because we've been seeing the reporting, looking at it from our team internally, as we've been migrating more of our big data to a cloud environment, where we have a multi-year strategy to do that, we started to see some very big consumption costs happen over a very quick period of time. And the infrastructure and the reporting that the team kind of pulled together, they were quickly able to, in real time, show me what was happening. We were able to identify where the anomalies were hitting, what was going on. We were able to get to the product team and the business teams immediately, huddle together, come up with some different options on how to drive down that cost, and work with our vendors as well too. So I think it really brought it home to me, like what we were doing and how impactful it was for the organization.
So how much faster is that cycle now with that? You said getting it in near real time. What was that previously?
I mean, in the past, I think it would have been
monthly, quarterly,
yeah, exactly.
And you know, someone getting an email and matching it up to a spreadsheet, which I think is a bad word. We don't say spreadsheets anymore. But yeah, but now it's near real time. So our executives can click on things, and we can quickly create dashboards. Our engineers are familiar with the terminology. They're giving us requirements, and we're prioritizing features along with the engineers in their sprints. So it's really that cycle now.
So the cost component has shifted.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly.
You mentioned Gen AI acceleration. I think earlier you also mentioned cost pressures.
Yep.
So what has the Gen AI adoption done to the FinOps practice, and has it introduced new, pressures at making sure the value's there?
Yeah, I think that it has accelerated definitely our need for FinOps a lot. We have a lot more running in different clouds. We have a multi-cloud hosting strategy across American Express, so Gen AI has definitely accelerated that part of it. I would say that we probably need more help from our vendors too on how to cost, right, those pieces and get better insight into it and be able to forecast, because I think as these use cases are so small, but as we start to scale across the organization, really understanding how we can forecast that out and see those costs coming through, I think will be very important going forward.
Yeah, it feels like that Wild West early days of cloud a bit, where it's like, we know we need to be using more of it, but we need to figure out how to figure out what we're going to use and the end report on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if only there were some cloud service providers here, right? I mean, I would probably ask them to help us a little bit more, right? So share more in the shared responsibility model. Because to Noreen's point, forecasting and getting accuracy in forecasting is a bit of a challenge, particularly with emerging services whose pricing models themselves aren't stable, right? So we're being asked to forecast, and in some cases commit to consumption volumes that we don't quite understand yet, Gen AI. So please, if they're out there, please help us, because there's lots of data available, but we need some more granularity and some more mappings to get the forecasting more accurate.
I'm going to put you on the spot there. What specifically do you want from them?
PTU, can we break that open, please? Like, how can I manage or measure or forecast or optimize workloads that are multi-tenant inside of a PTU, so provision throughput unit? I can't do it. I can't manage what I can't measure. So Microsoft, I think you're here. Can you help us, right? And those are types of examples, right? Because there are different cost optimization levers for Gen AI that we don't fully understand yet.
Yeah.
But if we have the data and we have the granularity, we can track and we can do better guessing and better estimation.
It's really reminded me to draw back another parallel of the container days. And when we were working on the Cloud FinOps book, we were trying to figure out if there's like a whole new set of capabilities for containers and then regular compute and these things. And it's really the same set of capabilities, but it's like this little cycle that has to happen within the container level. And now we're seeing that with the AI level. You need to do the same things, forecast and allocate and optimize, but the data is not always there yet, right? Yep. Which is the first step to doing all those things. So that's a great call out. Let's spend a little time on the future. Fast forward, maybe say just a year. We come back here. You've sat down. What are the things you think you're going to be focusing on at that point?
I do think we still will be focused on forecasting. I would say for me, I want better mapping to our business units, right? And to have like the taxonomy or the information and the reporting be more from a business perspective, because we do have leaders that aren't in the day-to-day and know all of these terms like you guys do. And I think it would be helpful to have that more business relatable so that we can have reporting and we can have these actions that we need the business to take, but they need to understand it a little bit more fully and have it more relatable to what they do. So that's one thing that I would like to see in the future. The other thing, and Keena and I have talked a lot about this, is turning the Gen AI coin on the other side, right, is to say, like, how can Gen AI help us? How can we do more from an automation perspective? What can Gen AI do to help us in our FinOps practice? I think that there's a lot of opportunity in this space, and I'm really hopeful in a year the world will change again, and we'll be able to see some of that within the tools that are out there and able to help all of our companies kind of move forward in this space.
And I mean, I would love to start applying these to our other hosting channels, right? So our on-premises hosting environments, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we've got this radical transparency now with our public cloud optimization opportunities and utilization. And so, why can't we get deceptively straightforward questions from our leadership, right? Comparing, the trade-offs and the costs for running a workload on-prem versus in public cloud. And I'm not quite as mature there for on-premises as I am in the public cloud. So I can apply these same principles, I can apply these same capabilities, these same personas, the same reporting, and in a year's time when we give you the update, we'll say, hey, we're doing it on-prem as well.
Okay, so you are seeing that expansion from public cloud to, is it SaaS first, or are you going straight to on-prem?
I think we're going straight to on-prem because, we've got workloads that are making decisions on where they need to be hosted, right? Okay. So that's kind of why we're pivoting to the comparison between on-prem and public cloud. But SaaS is totally in the mix, but we want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples as much as we can.
And one of the bullets we had up there yesterday was around this aspect of we're starting to see new types of data come in, like the carbon data related to other business metrics. Are you seeing other types of practices, whether it be the sustainability practices or related technology practices, start to intersect with your FinOps practice as well and factor in as a new decision-making criteria?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're probably in the early stages of that across the company. I see it in other areas that I support in the organization. Real estate is one of the areas from a finance perspective that I manage too. So as we think about kind of the entire cost space across technology, right, whether it's our data centers or anything else that we're doing, how do we bring that aspect into our thought process and making the right investments in that space? So for sure.
So going back slightly to something you said earlier, you mentioned the tooling getting better, and that's a big topic of today's session. Yesterday was all about the why and the strategy, and today we're going to dig into a bit about how to make FinOps happen, within your organization. Talk to me a bit about the investments you've made into tooling, and then we can maybe touch on people after that. But are you building stuff? Are you buying stuff? Are you using the native tools? How are you looking at that approach?
It's a combination, right? So there's no one tool to rule them all. We know that, right? And so, we have a combination of partners and of, out-of-the-box tooling to supplement and complement our in-house capabilities. So we're doing a bit of both. And again, there is some limitation, and it's kind of a recurring theme regarding forecasting, right? So we can do cost estimation, sure, that's there. but we need a little bit more advancement in the forecasting capabilities. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that sort of secret sauce to sprinkle on top so to help us in our forecasting.
Why do you think the forecasting component is so hard? Like, why isn't there a magic secret sauce for you yet there?
Why isn't there? Well, I'm not sure, because I mean, we can model scenarios based on historical behaviors and actuals, but the forecasting, again, it goes back to being asked to, estimate and commit to volumes, which we don't fully understand. We're still learning these capabilities ourselves. So if we can find a way to measure properly, then, I mean, that's all we need. And I don't think we're measuring properly yet.
I agree, and I think as we migrate more workloads there, right, like I think that's the harder thing too. Like if we were in a stable state, I think it would be easier, but as we're in this big migration, it's harder to forecast. And I would say that our company is very focused on getting very accurate forecasts, right, and knowing what costs will be like, exactly. So I think that's why, to us, it's so important, because we're feeling the pressure, for sure.
One of the themes you mentioned earlier was about, I think, proactivity that's happening. And I think when we were chatting last week, there was a word of celebration that you were trying to do internally. Like, how are you helping to highlight the achievements and motivate actions and that perennial challenge of, the engineers balancing good, fast, and cheap, AI and cost and quality? What are you seeing work internally?
Just recently we saw this in a meeting, in kind of looking at some of the data, finding an anomaly, having an engineer kind of come up with an idea on mitigation. And because it was kind of a SWAT team of tech, finance, engineers, the product team, and some of the business, I think we, at the end of it, I really wanted to celebrate what this engineer had come forward with, because for the most part, he's always hearing from me and my team on, you're not doing the right thing. I need you to drive more. Like, I want to see more from you.
Here comes Noreen again.
Exactly. So I think we have to turn the tables a little bit to get people to kind of have the right take the right actions and have the right mindset across the organization. So celebrating all of those small little things, I think, are important.
Yeah, and I think we do with our engineers a little bit more tactically. So on Fridays, we celebrate. There's always something to celebrate on Fridays. So we have a kind of a retrospective of the week with the core team, and our engineers are now taking pride in the tweaks and the tuning that they're doing, and they come to us, and we're working on gamifying it and having the leaderboard and the badges and the rewards and things, but there is a sense of pride in delivering a solution or delivering a capability while also optimizing costs, because we know that there's focus, and we know that it does get celebrated and aggregated at high levels.
I love that sense of pride that we see when you shift costs from being this annoying thing that you have to deal with to being like a new design constraint for software engineering. And engineers like to solve hard problems, and you give them a constraint, which is build this great thing and do it within a cost way. You have to be more innovative in order to do that. It's great. And the one thing I think we didn't touch on was people. I mean, you each have teams in your respective areas. Are you building more FinOps teams internally? Are you using external consultants? How are you splitting things up?
I think a little both, similar to the tooling. We have dedicated a small amount of people within finance to this space. There's been investment from the technology side as well. And then we've also have some great consultants that have helped us kind of build this up as well. So I do think you need to take that external perspective and kind of have the consultants help you try to decide like how you want to develop the team and where do certain pieces of this sit, because as we mature, some of this is going to sit within the business too. So I think that has been a helpful insight from those consultants as well. But I do think that this has become a very important place to invest, and senior management has definitely been seeing the benefits of that investment.
Great. Well, any final words you want to share on what you're hoping to see from the rest of the day? We got some clouds up here. We got some exciting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at the edge of my seat because I've made my requests.
They may not be able to build it between then and now, but Great. Well, thank you so much. And did you have one more?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see the rest of the conference, and I really appreciate you having us here because I do think that the partnership between finance and technology in this space is very, very important, and I'm glad that we could share our experience at American Express.
And thank you for doing such a stressful day yesterday and jumping on a plane and getting here and doing almost no sleep and then jumping on stage. So amazing. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this was a good tee up for a lot of what we're going to talk about today. I think that there's a constant, I'm going to use the word twice in one day, perennial struggle about how to integrate the tooling and servicing aspect of FinOps. Because in my mind, FinOps isn't really a technology discipline at the end of the day. It's really a cultural discipline. There's all this internal change you need to do. And it's a data discipline. It's one that needs the right data in the right time, in the right ways. And people are constantly struggling with, when do I use the native tools? When do I look at buying platforms that do all these things? When do I start to integrate and augment some of these things into my internal systems? And that's what we want to focus a bit on today. I want to bring out in a second here our CTO, Mike Fuller. Mike, on a personal note, I've known Mike for a long time. I sat down with him first in 2014 in Sydney. He was doing FinOps at Atlassian there, and he sat me down on their couch in the office, this very intimidating, soft-spoken engineer, and told me in no uncertain terms that my understanding of how AWS and reserved instances and all these things was completely wrong, and he reset my thinking on a bunch of stuff. And I walked away being like, wow, this guy's really smart. So when we decided to start doing the FinOps book in 2018, he's the first guy I reached out to. So he's co-authored the FinOps book. He is a founding board member. He's one of the first 3 board members of the FinOps Foundation. He's been the TAC chairperson. Before coming here, he was on the customer advisory board at AWS, representing Atlassian. He's currently the Focus Steering Committee chairperson. The guy has more hats in the FinOps Foundation than I think almost anybody else. Very excited to welcome to the stage Mike Fuller, our CTO. Break a leg.
Hello, FinOps X. As Jay said, I've been around since the beginning, and to watch this community grow from 25 people who was interested in the topic I was interested into to 22,000 people that find this interesting, it's great. So as Jay mentioned, I've worked at Atlassian prior to the foundation, where I joined the beginning of last year. Shout out to the Atlassians in the room. I watched Atlassian grow from 350 staff globally to over 10,000 and go from having basically no cloud footprint to completely on the cloud. For 8 of those years, I was working on the FinOps team as the technical leader. We did it all. We used native tools, we bought tools, we built stuff, we had our plans change and changed our policies and processes continuously. Like JR said yesterday, change is constant. So for Framework 2024, we added tools and services as a capability with the Techno Advisory Council at the Foundation. And we think this is very important for every practitioner in the room to really think about how are you using this ecosystem to benefit your organization with FinOps. But before I dig in, I'm not telling you your choices, like how you buy, how you build, whether you utilize the native services. These choices are yours, and the decisions will be unique. So what is this ecosystem? Well, I mean, everyone in this room forms part of this ecosystem. But from a practitioner's perspective, you're looking towards this ecosystem for different things. When you look at the cloud, you're thinking, you need to be clear on how you price things. You need to give me the right data. It needs to be granular. It needs to be near real time. When you look at the platforms and the FinOps solutions, you're thinking, help me build my FinOps practice. Give me the right tools that help me solve my organizational needs. I want it to be easy to integrate and have good APIs. SaaS and licensing was another area that was added to the FinOps framework because we see more and more FinOps practices looking into other areas of spend. But SaaS can also help the FinOps practitioner understand their cloud use, especially with those observability tools. Training isn't just for the FinOps practitioner. FinOps is everybody's job. And a practitioner's looking for training to help them train their organization, to understand what it is that every person has to do, their individual role and responsibility. For those who are using resellers to acquire their cloud services, there's a shared responsibility model that really needs to be understood. How much of that FinOps practice can the reseller take off the hands of the FinOps practitioner, and what changes within the practice when they're utilizing these services? And then when it comes to consulting, it ranges from everything from just bringing on a contractor just to work on an individual scope of work, or working with the large consultant firms to work across the whole organization, identifying all the different stakeholders within the business and really affecting that cultural change you need to see. But your choices in this ecosystem are really impacted by your own organizational environment. They're influenced by it. What's your technology stack? Do you have one cloud or many? Are you purchasing through a reseller? Do you have an on-prem environment that you want to be considered in your FinOps approach? Do you have existing relationships with the systems integrators? And what about your procurement channels? Do you have pre-approved or preferred vendors that you would like to select from? Your organizational policies are going to affect how you choose from the ecosystem. Things like security, compliance, data locality requirements. But really importantly, it's your cultural approach to technology. Does your organization always look to buy over build? Or are you a developer-heavy organization really experienced with building and deploying and operating services? Do you see yourself as a tech company, or you focus more on your core offering and rather not be building any software? We're often asked by practitioners, I need to find someone like me. I want to talk to a company that is kind of at my scale or my type of organizational environment or in my industry. And here at FinOps X, they're in the room. The conversations that you have, the breakout sessions you go to, you will find that right organization. But you're not here to try and just copy what everyone else is doing. You're trying to take influence, understand their choices in their environment, and see if that matches with your own. When we see practitioners building, I often ask, like, what made you choose to build? And the answer is often like, nothing in the market really fits to the way I want to work. And I think that sometimes practitioners have a bit of an XY problem. They have a challenge, they have a capability they'd like to grow out, and they come up with a really bespoke way they would like to operate that within their organization. And then they go out to market and they look for their mythical creature. They're trying to figure out what can do this really bespoke thing for my organization. And I challenge you practitioners to stand back and think, instead of going out looking for that mythical creature, start to think, can I learn other approaches? Can I really, really assess, is this the right approach for my organization? It's okay to be building. I just want people to be honest. Is it because the market has nothing that actually fits your organization, or that it's just that you've chosen to go down the build route? So put this into action. The goal isn't to go find that 12-sided, odd-shaped solution, but to look across the ecosystem and find a combination of features that covers your needs. Don't be afraid of combining different offerings, but also don't get over the top. You don't want to combine everything all at once. You want to be starting out simple. Simple solutions work better. Complex systems evolve from simple systems. This is Gall's law. And when you're setting up your selection criteria from the tools ecosystem, be realistic. Just because a tool has Kubernetes features, if you're not looking to use Kubernetes in the time frame that you're going to use the tool, that doesn't make that tool is better for you. But also, don't just think about where you are today. You want to make sure that your selection from the tool ecosystem is going to cover you for your cloud growth into the future. When you pull all these together, it might not fully cover all of the things that you need. But don't get hung up on those little minor details. I often find that the 1% of things don't actually really make a material impact to the value. So don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. Now, when you do approach the build, you really want to be enriching this ecosystem, adding onto and sort of improving what's there available to you, figuring out what is truly bespoke to your organization and adding that feature in. There are valuable reasons practitioners build solutions, but they aim to enrich the ecosystem, to help them integrate solutions into their business. We see in the state of FinOps data that no one builds everything all themselves. Everyone that responds has some component from the ecosystem included. An approach I used to use at Atlassian was to say, let's build this until we don't have to. Because I really want to make it so that as I can move away from building this feature, because I can now use it from the ecosystem, I can take that energy and put it into something else that's really going to improve my FinOps practice. The other thing I think there's a bit of a misconception on is that you need to be building in order to be mature. Or that because I'm building, I'm more mature. But I think there's multiple pathways to maturity here. We have some really great examples where organizations have built themselves tools, and you'll hear from those in many of our breakouts. But there are many successful practices that have not built anything. They use completely tools and services from the ecosystem, and they have really successful FinOps practices. So build it yourself is not maturity. There might be some sort of correlation there. When you're building, there are challenges. You have a time to value. The time that it takes you to build, instead of taking a tool straight off the shelf, is time that you're now focused on building stuff and not doing FinOps. Are you ready to scale? The thing you build, is it going to be ready when your cloud's 10x the cloud footprint? And what about those new spend areas that JR's mentioned? Are you going to continually build those extra connectors yourself? But most importantly, are you going to maintain this into the future? Not just for the features you have today, but for every little feature you add over time. Now, to be fair, buying has challenges just the same. There's the search, figuring out what in the ecosystem suits you. You're going to spend time learning what's out there, filtering that set down, figuring out what your selection criteria is. You have an approval period. You might need to build out business plans and work with different leadership teams to get your approval to purchase. You might have procurement challenges. Maybe there's a list of vendors that you're not able to select from. Or maybe you're a large established organization and you're not really allowed to work with the new nimble startup that you can see doing really cool things. But ultimately, there's just some time for you to get to the point where you can actually acquire. And then once you've acquired, it's not straight away on either. You do need to integrate that tool, set it up, connect it to your clouds, get your staff aware of the tool, get your staff actually going into that tool. If you combine different tools together, you need to make sure they all work together well. Don't want to have one tool trying to automate something on and the other tool trying to automate it off. So start simple. Remember, I said don't make it complex. Then over time, you add to your selection, sort of layering in the extra beneficial features that you want from this ecosystem and building out your FinOps practice. You're not aiming to replace every piece of the puzzle every time you move onto a new piece from the ecosystem. The goal is really ultimately to optimize your FinOps practice for your organization and spend time on what actually gives you the most value. And when I think about value, we asked in the previous State of FinOps survey, how do you measure your value? And not surprisingly, a lot of you just look at savings. I get it. I was a FinOps practitioner. I like my pot of gold as well. Everybody's impressed when you run that around the office. And ultimately, it's probably how you actually started your FinOps team. You convinced the organization that if we do this, we're going to make some pot of gold. But look across the whole FinOps framework. Every one of those capabilities that you're implementing in your organization has a measure of success, and not all of them are about dollars saved. It might be the percentage of allocation that can be done, the accuracy of your forecasts. You're looking for the ecosystem to improve all of those measures, not just savings. So really, I'm just sort of out here trying to say, practitioners, evolve your approach. Stop looking for bespoke solutions and start learning about different ways you can approach those challenges. Because really, spending time on what actually has the most impact to your organization is what is actually important here. And a good practitioner will use the whole ecosystem to their best advantage. and be always, always open to new approaches. If you want to learn more about this stuff, we have the tools and services capability in the framework available on FinOps.org. We have a working group that just successfully published a tools and services paper on this. Thank you for everyone that contributed to that. And we have the FinOps landscape. It's just been updated to the FinOps Framework 2024. So enable you to start that search. Look around for what's out there. With that, I'll grab JR to come back out on stage, and we'll have a bit of a conversation around being a good partner. Hey, JR.
Thank you, Mike, so much. I'm gonna break the fourth wall for a minute and say I was totally not prepared for you to call me back out stage, so I came running. So good to be back. So one of the things I wanted to talk about here, I've been on both sides of the coin of like building stuff and buying stuff, and I want to level set on something with this audience. There's a bunch of really awesome vendors out there. And I've been, in my past life, I've been one of the guys who stood at one of those booths. And I'm gonna tell you what a bad partner looks like when they walk up. Hey, what do you do? Can you just give me a demo? Like, no, I don't want to talk to you about me. Like, just tell me what you do. I encourage you to go out to those booths and actually have a conversation. There's a lot of expertise, there's a lot of thought leaders, there's a lot of folks who can help from looking across tons of different practices, give you advice about your practice. So when you walk up to those booths out there, please start with a little information so you can both qualify whether it makes sense to talk to each other. Share with them your challenge. Tell them specifically, we had Amex up here, they said, they called it out. We got a challenge, it's forecasting. Here's my problem with forecasting. If you can walk up to those folks and give them that to start, that's gonna help them get you more quickly to an answer and get possibly to a better partner.
Yeah, and every one of the breakouts that we have this year from the sponsored vendors, we made sure they had one of their customers in that conversation because we don't want to just hear the sales pitch. We want to see actual solutions in action with FinOps practitioners. So I guess my thing is go out there with the problem. Go out there with the capability you're looking for. But be careful because you might actually learn something.
All right, so we are going to get to, I think, the most exciting point of the day, something that we've never done before live and on stage. We are going to bring out, in rapid succession, have you ever been to a conference where these three have?
I have thought about this last night a lot with a few conversations I had. I'm like, I don't know of any conference where you have three clouds on stage talking about new awesome features for a segment of the industry. And
the day before, having three VPs from those clouds actually talk about what's happening, what's not. So these three have been amazing together. And this, to wax poetic for a brief second, this is what we kind of envisioned when we started the foundation, this world where we could get everybody together in support of the practitioner. Yes, they're all competitors. Yes, they all have different things going on, but they're here to share their wares and to hear from you. So let's get started with this. So we're going to welcome out, sort of in order of joining the foundation, three leaders from clouds to talk about what's happening with their FinOps releases. The first one of those is going to be Google. And I want to say Google, this is their third time officially representing at FinOps X. They were the first cloud provider to join the foundation. There's so many great Googlers involved. So we're going to hear from Sarah, who is on the Technical Advisory Council and the steering committee, has been active in the foundation since 22. We're going to hear from Rupa, we're not going to hear from, but I want to give a shout out to Rupa, who's a maintainer in Focus. Millen, who was here yesterday, who's our governing board member, Cynthia, who leads engineering efforts there. We've had Pravir on stage yesterday sharing great stories, and of course, Eric Lamb and the services team out there helping customers. It's a great team, and we're really excited to welcome to the stage Sarah from Google.
All right, good morning. How's it going? My name is Sarah McMullin, and for those that don't know me, I am the head of product for Cloud FinOps product at Google Cloud. Our team is responsible for all of the awesome Cloud FinOps products like cost reports, FinOps Hub, access to our billing data through programmatic APIs, and BigQuery exports. And I want to tell you a little secret. I think our job at Google Cloud is one of the best jobs. Let's see if I can't convince you by the end of this presentation as to why. So in 2023, last year, I stood up here and proclaimed, billing is indeed thrilling. So thrilling, in fact, that we actually released over 50 product enhancements to our FinOps tooling. We started with the basics. We increased the granularity of our cost data by over 30%. We actually made that cost data faster by decreasing the latency by 33%. Then we doubled down on optimization, and we released our FinOps Hub, which is our one-stop shop for cost optimization across our entire Google Cloud that combines both rate and utilization recommendations in a prescriptive format along with a savings ledger. And then at Next this year, we announced the long-awaited anomaly detection built on this fast, granular data. But our job is never done. We won't stop until 100% of your costs are visible, they're allocated, your cloud is running efficiently, there's zero waste, and your spend isn't thrilling, it's boring, it's predictable. You know exactly to the penny what's coming in, when. And we do this through our product portfolio that focuses on the primary jobs of the FinOps practitioner. You guys, we look across the inform, the optimize, and the operate landscapes, and we build tooling and we provide data to help you get these jobs done. So if 2023 was thrilling, what's in store for us in 2024? Well, I'm happy to announce that this is indeed the year that Google Cloud levels up FinOps. First, we're making our cost data even more open. As you heard yesterday from Praveer, being open is really a part of our DNA at Google Cloud. And it only made sense when the FinOps Foundation asked us to join the Open Billing Standards Focus project that we joined, because we believe that our customers should be spending less time on understanding their bills and more time on innovating. And we heard yesterday the announcement of Focus 1.0 GA. So we want to make it super easy for you all to take advantage of these open billing standards. So at Google Next, we announced a BigQuery view that transforms Google Cloud cost data and aligns it with the specifications and metrics defined in the 1.0 preview. And we had customers adopt this BigQuery view, such as Walmart, Broadcom, and UKG. And so, with the announcement of 1.0 GA for Focus, we're proud to announce that we've updated this BigQuery view. And in addition, we've also doubled down. We're now providing a Looker view that works in combination with this BigQuery view. So not only can you see your Focus data within BigQuery, but you can now visualize it with our Looker template. So scan the QR code to get access to the Looker template and take advantage of Focus 1.1 or 1.0. We're not at 1.1 yet. And we also want your feedback. So please scan it and get working on it. So if this is level 1, what are we going to do for level 2? Well, now that we have this open, granular data, we need to make it smarter. And of course, we're going to make it smarter with Gen AI. That's what. Let's see how.
Why does it take so much time to understand cloud costs? Introducing Understand My Costs, powered by Gemini Cloud Assist. Instead of spending time trying to understand your cloud costs and how they break down, find out why in seconds through specific cost data insights. Simply open Google Cloud Cost Reports and discover what's driving your cloud costs or what's been changing without having to do a thing. Don't know where to start? That's no problem. Discover any number of personalized cost reports sourced from FinOps Cost Management Best Practices, ready and waiting. Still don't see what you're looking for? Just ask Gemini Cloud Assist for more information on your most significant cost drivers, anomalies, or trends. Again, without digging through any cost data yourself. In partnership with Google Cloud's AI research teams, we have evolved Gemini Cloud Assist to help augment your FinOps cost management capabilities with the express goal of putting accuracy above everything. Gemini Cloud Assist provides in-context answers with references to your cost data, answers you can easily verify yourself. Still want to drill down even further? No problem. Generate your own query to explore Google Cloud's granular open billing data in BigQuery within a couple of clicks. No data science background required. With Gemini Cloud Assist, understanding your cloud costs has never been easier. Unlock maximum cloud value today.
So I'll tell you another secret. Oh, thanks. So our customers spend too much time generating cost reports. And I think actually it's prevalent in the FinOps industry itself. But guess what? It's not actually about generating the cost reports. It's about just understanding what your costs are and what's driving them. You should be able to understand what your Gen AI costs are without having to be an infrastructure expert. You should be able to understand what your prod costs are quickly and easily without combing through the data and understanding what those trends are immediately. That's what this provides us with. Our AI is embedded, it's fully auditable, and it's tuned to your FinOps practitioner needs. So what are you going to do with your new saved time? Scan the code and get access to the private preview today. So now that we've made our data smarter, I want to also talk a little bit about how it's not just about tracking dollars. It's actually about tracking something beyond that as well. We need to expand the definition of cost beyond that to make it green. Google Cloud has had sustainability at its heart. Since 2007, we've been carbon neutral, and we're also the most green cloud there is out there. So it only made sense to bring carbon data into the FinOps Hub. So now you can identify your emission hotspots. You can also see where you're doing well. You can combine this new insight into your carbon emissions with our AI recommendations around project idle shutdowns. So now what you can do is you can not only save money by shutting down projects that maybe aren't getting used, but you can also see the sustainability impact of those decisions. And now that I'm talking about optimization, let's drill into optimization a little bit more. You know what was interesting with the most recent State of FinOps data? It turns out that practitioners are very, very concerned about managing committed use discounts more than ever. And I can see why. Managing variable spend and committing to something in the long term does take a lot of analysis. How can you do that easier? Well, level 3 is you need to make commitment modeling easier through making it real time. Our newest addition to the FinOps Hub is CUD scenario modeling. This is designed to take our AI-powered optimization recommendations to the next level. Because everyone knows that AI is only as powerful as the data that it's modeled on. And guess what? You guys know your data more than we do. Now, through our real-time scenario modeling, you can exclude periods of time that doesn't make sense. So for example, maybe you don't want to model your committed use discount recommendations based on Thanksgiving period timeframes. You can also configure our recommendations so that way you can impact the recommendations to your risk level preferences. So for example, if you only want to cover your usage by 70%, you can. That's level 4. Our final level is reserved for the operate pillar. Because if I told you, for example, you now have a new way to alert you to surprise costs that you might not have been aware of, but not in a noisy way, in a smart way. At Next, we announced the release of our AI-powered anomaly detection, built again on our fast streaming cost data. This identifies projects and provides granular root cause analysis down to the SKU level to take action on. And now we're excited to announce that we have added email and pub sub alerts along with our anomaly detection, so you can send, for example, Slack notifications to developers to take action on anomalous spend. And did I mention that there's no setup required? You don't have to set up 1,000 channels to get access and get this going. And of course, you can configure it so that way you're only notified as to the anomalies, thresholds that you're interested in getting notifications on. So at Google Cloud, I believe we have truly reached next level with FinOps. Across our open cost data, across our smarter reporting, across our green cost data, our real-time CUD modeling, and lastly, our actionable anomaly detection. We believe innovation can really drive change in our world and do amazing things. So now do you see why I think our job at Google Cloud is the coolest? We get to actually unlock massive cloud value for you, the FinOps practitioner. I can't tell you how cool it is to hear you come up to me during the conference and share your stories about how FinOps Hub has saved you millions, or you found rogue spend through our anomaly detection, or you finally cracked the code on why a certain service spend was driving your costs up because you got that granular cost insight. And if you're interested at all in any of the features that I just shared with you, please, please, please come to our user session today at 10:45 and see the people behind these products. We have our engineers, we have our designers, and we have our product managers there that'll go deep diving into these features. So that's all. Thank you.
Good job. All right, thank you, Sarah. Really great stuff. So keeping things moving here, the next cloud we're going to bring out is a little company called Microsoft. And this is informally their third conference. They visited the first one, but their second formal participation at FinOps X. And also has shown up with a great team. We're about to hear from Jim and Lee from Microsoft. I also wanted to give a big shout out to other participants. Michael Flanagan has been a big force on both the Technical Advisory Council and the Steering Committee for Focus. Cyril and Evelyn and Fernando from the go-to-market team have been pumping out great content for the community and hosting global FinOps events. Vishal from the customer success team working with customers, really showing up with a great force to support this community. Please welcome to the stage Jim and Lee from Microsoft.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Jimin Lee. It's great to be back for my third FinOps X conference. It's amazing to see how things have grown each year, with so many more people coming together to share and learn from each other. This is truly one of my favorite events of the year. I'm super excited to be able to share what we have been working on. So let's get into it. Adopting FinOps means creating an inclusive culture of cross-group collaboration across engineering, finance, and business teams. This is where Microsoft Cloud shines with tooling and capabilities that empower every FinOps stakeholder. Our goal is to accelerate business value for your cloud investments. Let's first take a look at some of the new developments that empower engineers. As your team members start to planning, deploying, using, and managing cloud resources, it's important for them to get timely data insights so they can make the in-the-moment decisions, as well as take the ownership of cloud usage and spending. While the pricing calculator gives the transparency of how services are priced outside the portal, we believe it's critical for engineers to get the same level of visibility as they deploy resources in the portal. So we started rolling out a new experience where you can review, break down, as well as even fine-tune the cost estimates before you deploy resources in the Azure portal. This is available for virtual machines with pay-as-you-go subscriptions today. More services and account types will be supported in the near future. In the reporting and analytics space, new views are provided in cost analysis so that you can get deeper insights of your cloud spending. I'm particularly excited about the new Kubernetes views natively supported in our Microsoft Cost Management. It provides a central view of all clusters in a subscription and all namespaces in each cluster. It helps drive accountability by detailing into all the costs which are associated in there, in the shared cost, application costs. And with these additional insights, engineers can manage their AKS costs more efficiently, and also maximizing the benefits of running the workloads on shared infrastructure. And speaking of optimization, we are dedicated to helping teams holistically optimize rates as well as reduce waste so that you can get the most out of the cloud. The new cost optimization workbook in Azure Advisor centralized tools to help engineers with proven practices from the well-architected framework. More on Advisor. I'm excited to share the customer can now start well-architected and mission-critical assessments directly from Advisor. This survey-based self-service feature provides guidelines as recommendations, which can be tracked and managed within Advisor. There's a ton to share about rate optimization, from configuring the auto-renewal of reservation at purchase time, and also the new role-based access control for savings plan. And I'm especially excited about expanding new savings plan coverage to include 2 more services, and also additional reservation offering for 8 more product SKUs, including Microsoft Fabric and also the Defender for Cloud. With even more coming soon, we are looking forward to seeing how these can help you to maximize the cloud value. But FinOps isn't just about costs. Engineers can now start to leverage Azure Carbon Optimization to monitor, track, and analyze their carbon emissions at resource level from Azure Portal. With recommendations to help reduce emissions, Azure Carbon Optimization can provide foundational tools so that you can easily understand and optimize for cloud sustainability. Whether you are learning more or you're looking for solutions to implement FinOps capabilities in Microsoft Cloud, the FinOps Toolkit can help you kickstart off your effort with the starter kit, scripts, and more. This month in June, we also will provide new and updated tools around, for example, Azure Optimization Engine for customer recommendations, and also will align with FinOps Framework 2024 updates. Now, looking beyond engineers, we're also exploring ways to empower business and finance teams in the tools they use outside of Azure Portal. The first step is to get data you need into such tools using the capabilities like cost management exports, which provide no-code data ingestions with security enhancements and 5 more data sets, which with these data sets make much easier to get data you need into a central reporting tool. And perhaps the most exciting and anticipated data set is the Focus data. As the first cloud provider that implemented Focus Preview back in November, we have seen incredible adoption and interest. And we've seen organizations different sizes and shapes, they started exporting Focus data as well as migrating their reports and alerts. Again, as one of the leaders that in the development of Focus, seeing this has been inspiring. And now, we're happy to announce you can also export to Focus 1.0 to get the latest specification enhancements. Yes. And to truly empower business finance teams, we strongly recommend you to get your data into Microsoft Fabric, which is a unified data analytics platform to enable self-serve analytics, where you can connect your cost data into your data sources and also streamline the FinOps reports and alerts on top of Focus and other data sets in Microsoft Fabric. Carbon emissions is such an example. You can bring your carbon emissions data using Microsoft Azure Emissions Insights, which enables a richer and more complete reporting across cloud and the business data in Microsoft Fabric. Of course, it wouldn't be a Microsoft update without AI. So now it's time to show you how our AI and Copilot capabilities in Azure Portal as well as Microsoft Fabric experiences to help you unleash more potential and also accelerate your FinOps practice and business value. Let's take a look.
Microsoft provides a broad array of FinOps tools to help you understand and optimize cloud usage and spend. Copilot in Azure extends these tools to make it easier for you to implement FinOps capabilities. Let's say you receive a notification that one of your budgets has exceeded the threshold. Let's ask Copilot for insights. Copilot shows a noticeable increase in your expenses on a certain date. But which subscriptions are contributing to the increase? You can even estimate your spending by simulating different what-if scenarios. With a projected increase in spend, you want to understand how you can manage your spending effectively. And if you need to join cloud data with business context, you can leverage Microsoft Fabric as a unified data analytics platform that enables timely, data-driven decision-making powered by AI. Whether you need to integrate cost data from multiple clouds with Focus, the FinOps Open Cost and Usage specification, or use application telemetry to track unit costs, you can export your cost management data to a single data lake to be integrated using Microsoft Fabric, with data from hundreds of different sources transformed using data flows and data pipelines without data duplication, movement, or change in ownership. And once you have your distributed data sets centrally available, every stakeholder can use natural language to find insights, create easy-to-understand text narratives for sharing, and use transformative AI experiences to facilitate data-driven decision-making and FinOps capabilities. You can even create conversational Q&A experiences that combine Azure OpenAI models with your organization's data and allow you to easily publish your creations as plugins. And with your data in Microsoft Fabric, Copilot provides insights and answers everywhere work gets done. Bring your FinOps practice into the era of AI with Microsoft Cloud.
Thank you. I love it. Bring your FinOps practice into the era of AI using Microsoft Cloud. I hope you're as excited as we all are about the new capabilities available in Microsoft Cloud. And I invite you to come join our Microsoft booth and also our sessions later today. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimin, for all your support on the governing board as well. And that brings us to the third cloud provider. Amazon did attend informally last year, but I want to give a shout out. It was through a lot of efforts of one of the individuals who attended last year, Rick Oakes from AWS, who did a lot of work to get Amazon on board. We're really excited. Rick is on our Technical Advisory Council. Also wanted to thank Roy Woolman, who sits on our steering committee for Focus, and his teams have been involved in Focus. Want to thank John Phillips, who unfortunately had to leave yesterday for personal reasons. He's on our governing board. He was meant to be out here today. We have the distinct pleasure of having James Greenfield in his stead. Also wanted to thank the optics team, Alex Head, as well as Bowen, who's done all the integration of FinOps into AWS. So with all those great people, welcome to the stage for their first official FinOps X, James Greenfield from AWS.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun.
Hello again. super excited to be up here again, and very excited to be talking to you today. We are very, very excited to be here and very excited to be part of the foundation. And one of the things that I'm hoping that comes out of being part of the foundation is that we get to shine a light on just how much we're investing in supporting the FinOps community and all of the FinOps practitioners who are here today. We have hundreds of builders in my teams and across other teams, product managers, we have large field teams, and we have many folks here this week. We have 12 product managers from my team who are around. Hopefully you've got a chance to talk to some of them. And we have over a dozen folks from across AWS who are here this week. And we're here to listen. We're here to learn. The one single thing that has most impacted our roadmap over the last couple of years has been customers, has been talking to customers, understanding what's a problem, what's an opportunity, what you're trying to get done, and why. And then in multiple cases, we've taken that back, we've thrown plans away, and we've sat down and we've revamped what we're doing or changed our priorities. So really, if you can, please corner any one of us and tell us what's on your mind. We also have some exciting announcements to share, which I'll get to. I hope you'll find them as exciting as I do. But before I go there, the way that we think about FinOps is table stakes. It's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Everybody has to do it. It's becoming increasingly important for a bunch of different reasons. And what's super interesting about this is it cuts across the entire business. It touches roles left, right, and center. An increasingly diverse set of roles are getting pulled into this. And that's been super exciting to be part of and enjoyable to watch. As a result of that, and to support that diverse set of different roles that are involved, we're making a number of different investments across our already broad product portfolio. And we think about those investments through a number of different lenses. We try to bring as much structure as we can so that we're thoughtful about where and how we're investing. And today, I want to talk through some of the things that were done and some of the things that we're going to announce today. And I'm going to look through 3 particular lenses. And those lenses are trustworthiness, flexibility, and standardization. And so let's talk about trustworthiness. I think trust is a super obvious one. And an easy place, a place where this is very critical to us, is cost optimization. If you can't trust our cost optimization recommendations, then you're not going to use them. And what I mean by trust them is not just that they're giving you the best reduction in spend and that they're identifying where you have the biggest spend reduction opportunities, but that they are safe. That if you apply those optimization recommendations, that we're not going to trade off security, performance, availability, any of those things. And then you also have to trust that we're not leaving anything on the table. That we're looking across your entire portfolio, that we're identifying all of the opportunities. And we've made a number of investments that I think fall into the trust lens. One of those is we launched our cost optimization hub, which pulled together recommendations from across a number of tools and services across AWS, because we have groups everywhere looking at this, not just mine. And then as part of that, we look through those and we try to deduplicate those savings opportunities so that you really know what you're actually going to get if you apply them. And we allow you to sort and filter those in a way that makes sense for your business. Transparency is a key part of trust. Explaining how we're doing things, why we're doing things is super important. And one of the investments that we made there was we've introduced visualizations so that you can see why we're making certain savings plan recommendations, what that's actually going to mean, so that you can kind of sniff test them yourself and make sure that they make sense and you understand them. We also introduced a 7-day return window for savings plan purchases so that you can purchase with more confidence. It isn't this high stakes decision that you make. I often joke that we built one of the most expensive buttons on the internet. And you want the confidence to know that if you make a mistake there or you want to come back and revisit that you can do something about that. And then Another area where we've invested to give you peace of mind is we've given you the ability to customize your recommendations. So you can choose which recommendations you're going to see, so you're only focusing on the things that matter, and you can tune those recommendations. For example, you can set customized CPU utilization targets so that the recommendations that we're making make sense for your workloads, your business, your risk tolerance. And then finally, one of the areas where we build trust, which is probably least visible, is the amount of time that we spend with service teams behind the scenes, getting deep into what they're doing, working with their experts, to really think through how we get those cost optimizations that I talked about at the beginning right, and deliver cost optimizations that you can trust. Which brings me to my first announcement. We spent over a year with our database teams working through how to bring safe, reliable, trustworthy recommendations, optimization recommendations for RDS instances. And those are available today. And they cover right sizing, they cover CPU architectures, they cover database engines, and idle resources. And so those are available today as GA for our MySQL and PostgreSQL database engines. Flexibility. This one is super important. The one thing that's really stood out from customer conversations over the last couple of years is just how different everybody is. Everybody's worrying about different things. Everybody's approaching this problem from a number of different angles. And there's a ton of diversity out there, and we want to support all of that. That ranges from the different individuals and the lenses that they're bringing to what they're doing, but also where you are on the maturity curve. Each of your businesses are in different places. You're in that crawl, walk, run phase, often along different dimensions in your business, and we have to support all of that. In the spirit of flexibility, one of the things that we launched last year was a new billing and cost management console, which allows you to customize what you're actually seeing there. So again, if there are things that are more important to your business, you can make them front and center, and if there are things that just don't apply or you don't need to look at, you can hide them so that you're not distracted by a sea of data. For those of you who want the flexibility to explore your costs using natural language interfaces, we've made support available in Amazon Q, which is our generative AI-powered assistant for querying about cost and usage data, billing data, and that is available in preview, and we're very, very excited to get feedback on that. I look forward to that. We spent a bunch of time really working through making sure that that was something that we were happy with. We've also introduced the ability to allocate costs at a very fine granularity across some of our managed services, like ECS and EKS. And we've introduced greater flexibility in Cost Explorer, making resource-level data available across all AWS resources. And then for coarser-grained data, we've given you a look back of up to 38 months, so that if you want to look at long-term trends and use that to make decisions or understand something, you can. And then we know that a lot of you want to get at data programmatically and use it outside of our consoles. Our consoles are super important, but a lot of you have big pipelines, and you want to get into the data yourselves, roll your sleeves up, and go and understand it. And so one of the things that we released at reInvent last year, which I'm super excited about, is a new data exports platform. And what this does is a couple of things. One is it gives you the ability to select the columns that you want in the data sets, to filter out the data that you don't want to see, which means that you spend more time working on the data that you want to and less time figuring out how to get rid of the data that you're not interested in. But more importantly, this positions us to start to offer additional data exports much more easily. And so I'm super excited today to announce a new data export. The cost optimization hub that I talked about earlier, all of those recommendations are now available as a data export on our data export platform. And that includes information about where there might be overlapping cost optimization opportunities, so that you don't have to do the heavy lifting to go and figure out which ones might overlap. I'm super excited that this is now available. Okay, which brings me to standardization. We recognize that a lot of our customers spend a bunch of work and time and effort pulling data in, transforming it, moving it into a common format so that you can understand and analyze and merge billing data across multiple platforms. And we know that that's time you'd rather not be spending there. It's often costly. It's big data pipelines. We understand that that's cumbersome. And that's why Focus was born. Focus started because that is a problem that the FinOps Foundation wanted to tackle head on. And we're super excited to be part of Focus. And we look forward to helping you wrangle all of that data and focus on the things that you want to. And so I'm super excited to announce that available today, we have a preview release of an AWS Focus 1.0 data export. I'm going to jump to a video and show you how easy it is to set that up, because it is super easy. All right. So you should see a video showing up there. So if you go to the data export console page and you create a new export, you give it a name, and you'll see that there's a Focus 1.0 with AWS Columns preview data export table available. You can choose that. You can go and look at all of the columns that are available. We have all of the 43 Focus 1.0 columns are available, and we have 5 additional AWS-specific columns. You can pick the format that you want it delivered in, and you can tell us where you want it dropped. Give us an S3 bucket. We'll show you the resulting query, and then you set it up. And within 24 hours, you'll have your Focus 1.0 compliant data export available to download and start playing with. Awesome. Thank you very much.
So there we go. We also want to share with you, if you haven't catch the news, Oracle last week also announced Focus support into a 1.0 GA as well. This is, so we have 4 clouds with native support on the same week that the specification hit GA, which is pretty special. And it's really just the beginning, though, right? This is the point at which you need to turn on those exports, those feeds, those previews, and start giving them feedback. They're all working on, what are you working on now?
1.1.
1.1.
Figuring out what the next thing is. And for us to figure out what the next thing is, we want you to be getting into that data, start exploring it, figuring out what's next for us. So yeah, the feedback into the clouds is a great channel. Feedback into the FinOps Foundation as well. We can pass it all through to the members of the Focus project.
Yeah. So as we see all these things growing, right, figure out which of these native tools are going to help you figure out what else you need help with, and ultimately where we want to see you getting to. I'm going to go back here. Sorry, if we can go to the logo slides for the crew there. Out here in the expo hall as well, there are a bunch of additional vendors, as we mentioned. There were too many feature updates to name, but a lot of these platform vendors already have Focus support as well. So as Mike was saying, go out there. Don't necessarily, what was the term you were looking for? The mythical creature?
A mythical creature, yeah. I think it was like, we just saw a big pile of cloud announcements. We've seen a whole pile of announcements from the vendors leading up to FinOps X. This landscape constantly is evolving. And so you want to be catching up, like what is available in that ecosystem, because you might just be able to take total advantage of that and just focus on the FinOps for your organization.
So there it is. Another deep breath. Okay. So we wanted to thank all of you in the community. This is really special for us because I think we've hit this point in the foundation that we all sort of dreamed of back in 2019 when we were kicking this off, of getting everybody together. I want to also give a special shout out to a gentleman Udam Dewaraja, who you saw out here last year announcing Focus 0.5, who was a lot of the booster rocket fuel that got us to this point. So he's out there at the Focus booth. Please find him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, there's been a few moments in this conference where I've just gone, we kind of reached that point of the imagination that we set out with. Can we get people to use the term FinOps? Can we start to really band together to really help each other move forward in this space? Can we get all the cloud providers to start, helping us as practitioners as a collective set? There's been a few times where I'm just like, this is the imagination that we had, 5 years ago. And so, very much thanks to everybody coming together. It's really special.
And everyone is here to talk to you, and you're all here to talk to each other. So again, one of the things I heard last night that I loved the most about the community was somebody said, everybody here is so nice. Like, I can actually go talk to people. So if you see somebody today standing alone, please engage them. Ask them what their FinOps challenge is. Ask them which features they want to look at. Ask them what vendors they're excited about. And I also wanted to say, this conference has been a huge effort by a massive amount of people. There are almost 30 FinOps Foundation dedicated staff members. We hail from 6, 7 countries.
Yeah,
we built this team during COVID. He's in Australia. We've got people in Belgium and the UK and Sao Paulo. And a very extra special shout out. The 2 people who really make this conference happen, Steve Trask and Jessica Brandis, are responsible for all the magic you see out there in their respective teams. Thank you to them. And every single one of this staff worked for months to get ready for this. And you want to do the next one, which is?
Yeah, so I guess on to the next thing. I mean, straight after this, the staff will be then head down onto FinOps X Europe. This will be our first Europe conference, so FinOps X. And I know that people are very excited. We had a lot of demand in Europe to bring FinOps X over to Europe. So.
The CFPs open in July.
Yes.
So start thinking about what talks you want to submit. Start telling us what talks you want to see at that. This is going to be a conference that's about half the size of this conference. It is at the W Barcelona, which is a spectacular venue on the water, and it can't really grow. It's locked into that size. The hotel is only a certain bit. So get tickets early for this one. We do expect this to sell out, and there's not really more room once that happens. And very happy, one more thing, to announce that we will be back here next June at the Marriott Marquis. For the first week of June. We're going to announce the exact days. Don't book anything yet, because there's going to be some surprises on days. First week of June in this space. What was your favorite thing about the conference so far?
I mean, seeing the community face to face. We're getting out of those little Zoom boxes is for me. And I guess it comes back to that welcome home. We want to be in amongst the people, right? And so for me, I just love being here, actually seeing people, catching up with faces that I've seen over the years, meeting new faces. It's always great, and look forward to the next conference for more faces, and then being back here, next year. So
brilliant. So we have a lot more today for you all. Mike will be in the expo hall, I want to say, at 5 o'clock for the book signing, the informal book signing. Give this man a shout. Most of the stuff that's in the book, if you have a tabbed page or something underlined, the way we wrote the book was, I'd be like, Mike, what do we need to tell people about blank? And he would start talking, and I would take notes. This is the man who is the brains behind the Cloud FinOps book, and please come engage him. Thank you for being a part of this. So go out, engage, connect. Remember, on the back of your badges is a LinkedIn code. You can scan and meet others. We're excited for the rest of the day. In this room, right here next, is an Amazon deep dive and a Microsoft deep dive. And at the end of the day, we've got Meta on stage talking about FinOps and private cloud. Breakouts happening everywhere. We'll see you in about 20 minutes.
Thanks for watching. Check out more FinOps X 2024 content on our YouTube channel on the 2024 playlist. Support our channel by liking, subscribing, clicking the notification bell, and by leaving comments and questions for our speakers. We appreciate your support.